All right, you'll have to excuse the lighting. The sun is not out, and every time I put lights on when it's daytime, it always looks pretty grainy on camera. So, uh, originally, what I had planned to do was for this stream to be sort of, I don't want to say a follow up, but a companion piece to the video from last night, where I was responding to some of the insane things that men wrote in defense of this woman. But um, I don't really feel like doing that today, and I guess maybe I'll just do it on Thursday or Wednesday or this weekend instead. What I'd rather talk about is loss and the effects it has on someone when it happens, and in some cases when it happens repeatedly. Um, because I do think that a lot of times you have these people who will say someone should move on when something happens to them, and the phrase or the term "moving on" goes back to that like nebulous thing of what exactly do you mean when you say move on. I gave the example about I think 2 or 3 months ago when I did the losses you cannot forget stream. I talked about Peter Cushing, who played Tarkin in the episode 4 of Star Wars. uh, Said that when his wife died he felt as if his own life had ended, and of course he didn't stop acting after that, but that certainly doesn't sound like something from someone who's moved on, who is sure, continued their career, but it still actively weighs on them. And, it makes a lot of sense for that to be the case because when you have some close relationship with a person that is culminated over years, just suddenly snatched away from you, it can feel unfair. It can feel screwed up. And just, another one of those things where it's not beneficial in any capacity. Let me read what Akatsuki Merchant wrote. Grief is a hard thing to deal with, so it's pretty insensitive to tell someone grieving to just get over it. Yeah, this is starting a little bit earlier than usual because I was originally going to go for the usual like 10:30 angle, but I just that's like 40 minutes from now, and I felt like just getting this out of the way. I hope you enjoyed the video yesterday, Megumi. I'll put up the romance comic book one probably Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So when it was some maybe that later this week, maybe the start of next week. But yeah, you'll notice that a lot of people are very insensitive when it comes to the ways that others are affected by things because, and we've even seen some people admit that sympathy is a very hard thing to get if someone has not experienced it directly. That's why it's so easy for these guys to come and attack someone, right, over the woman stuff, or for a woman to look at this stuff and say, "Oh, you probably did this," because they don't know what it's like to sit there year after year, um, and be given the same result, no matter how many of them you speak to, no matter what you did differently this time. It's just completely not understandable to them, not because you don't articulate it in some way to where a person could say, "Yeah, that is messed up." But they just don't feel some, compassion for something they haven't experienced themselves. Most time people say just get over it, they aren't actually showing much sympathy, especially if they aren't exactly affected by it. Yeah. I remember the first instance where something like this happened. I sure did. I enjoyed and liked the video. I hope you leave a comment as well. Don't be like the people that show up one time and decide to write something antagonistic. Because remember, we're supposed to care about their opinion, even if they don't care. They show by their lack of comments and engagement that they care about the channel itself. So I hope you leave a comment. But I was going to remember the first time that I had something like this happen. So one of the things that has actually been mentioned here, one of the more disturbing parts of I'm trying very hard not to get the chick stuff involved in this, but just for the sake of an example, you have men who, when they're doing like the nitpick my appearance thing over everything, they actually bring up my cross, and I was always disturbed by this because we talked about the double standards. Like I've personally never seen someone say, "Oh yes, I think this woman is attractive, but I don't like her necklace." That's like a big turn off to me. I've never seen it. So that's why that was always a nitpick that was kind of creepy to me. Like you're so gung ho about there's something wrong with the way this man looks. You're gonna attack him over a necklace. All right, I'll look for it afterward, Megumi. I'll go and see what you wrote. But the reason that always disturbed me, right, is because um, of anything I wear, this has the most, I guess, sentimental value to me. I gave the story before. It was the Christmas of 2000. I was about 2 years old, and my mother said, "Oh, this is a gift from your, great aunt," and then opened it, and it was the cross. And I not knowing that it was a necklace instead of a bracelet, I put my hand out like this to, have her put on my hand. Um, and I've talked about how the person that gave it to me was not really that big of a player in my life. She died when I was in second or third grade, but was still very important to my to another one of my relatives who she took care of when she was a child and helped raise, and that was something that meant the world to me because that's one of my one of the that person that they helped raise, one of the eight essential people of my life. So even if she didn't directly interact with me all that much, what she did for this other person, I'll always be grateful for. I had to because of how ridiculous those clowns were. Yeah, they write a lot of insane things, and that's why I call it the new era, because now I realize that no matter what a woman does, these people will defend it. No matter how much proof you have, I could do a video just again to deviate to go on this topic for a second. I could do a video of a woman agreeing to marry me and then like leaving me at the altar, and they'd be like, "Well, you probably smelt like this," because that's just how they are. They always have to find a fault in you. These romance dudes make really dumb arguments, and it irks really bad arguments, and it irks me as someone who used to be in debate club. Yeah, but it's like I've never been in a debate club. I've seen political debates and debates when people talk about shows, and it's like no other group of people I've seen that debate something make the kind of arguments that they do. Oh, you probably did this, but you weren't there. And then when you have audio of what actually happened, you start putting words in my mouth. Oh, she doesn't have to be locked into anything with you. You're not the only person in her world. It's just, a lot of it just garbage. It's just trash. That's why I got rid of it. It's just garbage. So I remember when I found out she had died. My mother told me about it, and I remember crying. I remember screaming. At the time, I'm like 8 or 9, so that's, I guess, typical. Um, but yeah, I'm trying to think of what else to say here. I remember that one of the other things people like to say again with that whole like moving on thing is that you and this was like an argument I made during the video I did, or the stream I did about the losses you can't forget, where it's like, yeah, people can still do the things they did before, but if the person meant something to you, especially like depending on the type of relationship you had with them, it is not easy to just say, okay, I'm not going to see this person ever again. Now I can continue to do this thing I did with them before. Um, I had Benoit and Guerrero's picture on there, and the whole point of that was to show that here was a pair of men who were friends for over 10 years, possibly even longer, and they saw each other every day at work, pretty much traveled on these long, extensive trips, and so when one of them dies in a premature way, but even if it had just been like, oh, you get sick and then you're any way really imaginable, that was still someone who Benoit over a long stretch of time had become accustomed to seeing pretty much every day and having this very close relationship with. And you can't, even if someone continues to wrestle afterward, right? That person still is a very important figure in your history of performing this sport, in the amount of time you spent with them. It's not, you can't just pretend. And this, I guess it goes back to this thing of, um, moving on to like more nuanced than these people make it seem to be, where, yeah, you can still wrestle after that, but it still messes with your mind that this person that was always around just suddenly isn't here anymore. The romance topic is the only one I see where people will engage in flawed responding that they wouldn't apply to anything else. It's a personal subject for a lot of people. Like I said, I I've had discussions with people about this stuff, and I've never attacked someone over the way they look, or and there've been, and trust me, there have been a lot of chicks I don't think are attractive. But if I respond to someone about this, I'm actually trying to engage with them. All of my arguments are entirely based around things they say, responding to their points or something else they said. So that's the big difference between me and my detractors. And it's funny because I remember distinctively with that Tony person. He was upset that I would call people who like wrote nasty stuff to me villains. I'm like, I remember the comments where people were saying I was gonna molest a woman and blow up buildings and all this other like just nonsense that I myself never said. So I don't feel sympathetic at all for anything I call somebody on here, because I've been called all kind of gross and nasty stuff with nothing to back it up. So it's tit for tat. I definitely agree with you. Loss affects us in very serious way. Oh, in various ways. I always feel most of the time when someone says get over it, they usually don't take the time to actually listen properly. I remember one of my relatives passed. Was that 4 years ago? And this was someone I saw every day for from the time. Like this was someone who was just a very. I don't. I think if I were to have a catalog of just weeks within a year, right? I'd be hard pressed to find more than maybe 1 or 2 weeks where I didn't see this person. That's how prominent they were for me. And I didn't do a video on it. And it's even hard to discuss now without speaking in like the most vague of terms. But it's that thing of, yeah, you still do the videos that you did before, you still draw, you still write, all these things you did with that person's encouragement or when that person was around. But there's still that. I mean, I guess I could put it in the most poetic of terms. He left a hole where my heart should be, because it's just a continuous thing of knowing that there was this person who was more important to you than most others. That when you do something that you feel is good or important, you wish was able to see it. That even when you get some kind of minor accolade, you still think, hey, what would they think of this? So that's what I was saying. That yeah, you can still do things you did when that person, after that person is gone, but you know it's not the same. And if you remember them, it certainly makes it even more. What's good at saying it's you know that it's not the same. I'll put it that way. That's like getting mad that someone who kills multiple people is called a serial killer with something else. Yeah, he's another one of these mentally ill guys that writes weird stuff and contradicts themselves. Like, oh, you can sit here and watch him in his self-loathing, says the person that sits on my channel for another 5 months. Now, let me read what Megumi wrote. Especially if the person who passed is meant something to you to a great degree. You can't just tell them to get over it, because that's like they are dismissing your loss as if they never mattered. Yeah. And guys, time does not heal all wounds as some, generic people, I don't even know what's the way of saying it, generic platitude people like to say. Again, not to get too political in here, but for example, can find an article of Ted Kennedy admitting that he thought of his brother, the late president, every day. And this is a man that died when I was in fifth grade, referring to his brother that died must have been 40 years before that. So even 40 years after his brother was murdered, he still remembered him and thought about him constantly. Because again, that was a person who mattered to him. Yeah, it gets better. He doesn't even articulate where exactly you were engaging in self-loathing. The topic just makes him uncomfortable, so he tries to project that onto you. I mean, the only mistake I ever felt I made was actually believing that these people, could be reasoned with. Because that was the only reason I even allowed them to write all that stuff on my streams. Maybe if they stop, if they're allowed to just freak out and go insane, they'll talk like a rational human being for once. But that was not the case. Sometimes I think platitude comments are trolls. I only see/hear comments on the internet. Yeah, I don't know anybody in real life that says, time heals all wounds or, oh, it'll get better. None of that. And I'm kind of glad because it goes back to my theory about how it's only when you come online that people write the most bland, generic stuff, that they put the least amount of nuance and thought. Case in point, I was on the phone with someone that suffered a loss, and I didn't even ask them, "Are you all right?" Because I knew they weren't. I was wordless. Because my instinctive thing when I speak to someone, especially if it's a person I'm actually interested in knowing how they're doing, is to ask them, "Are they all right?" or "How are you?" or something to that effect. Yeah, it just sucks that people are the way they are. Also, you can hear that that's the rain outside. It was really ironic too because the type of news I got this morning, and then going outside and seeing the rain, it was because it hasn't been raining recently. I'd say over the last couple of months. So it was like, wow, it looks outside how I feel. How poetic. Of course, there is a tendency online if you were to disclose a loss that affected you, some people could use that against you to say something that person. Yeah, I told you, I'll never forget. One of the things I will always remember, no matter how long I'm on the internet, was the guy that does streams. Right, he has a show on YouTube, and his grandma died about 4 years ago, and he had a call-in show, and 99% of the calls, people were saying, "I'm sorry, I hope you feel better." All kind of respectful things, and then some troll called in and said his grandma was in hell. But see, this goes back to my thing of how I don't do that type of stuff to people I don't like on this website or on any website, because you're gonna take your issue with this man, right, over the type of content he makes, and retroactively stick it on people who have nothing to do with it. I mean, it's like that is class A insanity. I had to block because he started her. Wait, so he was following you to your page or to your channel to talk about me? I think that's really ironic. It's like, oh yeah, you have no introspection. Oh, you have all these bad qualities, but like I can't stop talking about you even in other places. I really hope you mean he was just saying it here, because if he actually was going to your page and saying that, that's even more disturbing. You know, the really disturbing thing about the chick stuff, just it's not something I talk about that often. Um, when you listen to people talk about like being with a woman, they make it sound so great, right? Oh, she'll understand you, and if she really likes you, you know, you'll get to feel up on her and all the rest of the stuff. But have you ever noticed that you're more inclined to feel more comfortable with like either a relative or you know, let's just say some friend you have, for example. Like I can call multiple relatives every day and not have them call me a stalker or be worried that they think I'm pushy or something, because a lot of them don't answer their phone because they're not around their phone or asleep or some other like, you know, explanation that they've given. Like, you know that the person wants to talk to you. You know that if you get into an argument with them, they're not going to block and, you know, make it to where you can never speak to them again. You ever notice that? You don't have to second guess yourself. You don't have to pretend to be someone you're not for people to actually care about you, to accept you for who you are, or to like you and want to engage with you. Yeah, that's really horrible for someone to say and do to someone. But some people are really spiteful for like that online. Hmm. Well, they've already shown they have no empathy. Like if you can't give them to have empathy over the stuff we discuss, I would not be surprised by anything they do. Told you, it doesn't matter what it is, somebody will always find a way to make it your fault online. But I was wondering if you noticed that if being with the woman is so great, why is it that a lot of people feel more comfortable just talking to a relative or someone else that actually that they don't have to do all this stuff to get to talk to them? Like I told my best friend, I didn't care what amount of wealth he had, if he had muscles, any of this stupid stuff. He will always be someone I want to speak to. You know, it's just sad that they really believe in this warped idea that a person will care about you or want to be actually concerned with you if you do all this stuff just to maybe get their time. I'm starting to think that guy is probably, but very in denial about. Oh, he claimed to have a girlfriend on one of my streams or to be in a relationship, which I laughed at because remember what we said. If you actually are with someone, you're not going to be watching this type of stuff. That's very weird because straight guys don't obsess over another man like that because they, yeah. How many paragraphs do you think he's written about a woman? Just curious. Yeah, I agree. Most men and women say a woman gets with men to see if they can change and fix them up. Yeah, That's why my best friend said that the guys on here that sit like are trying to change me and offer all this unsolicited advice are analogous to the chicks that try to do that with men. Like they're literally the chicks that say, "Oh, I can change him." Sometimes I have that feeling these people are kind of obsessed. Yeah, but I guess to me, I just don't understand the point of it. Like, there are plenty of guys who make videos. They talk about you should do this, you should do that, and I think those videos are scams. But I'm not gonna. That doesn't compel me to write, whether it's a lengthy comment or a short one. Some rebuttal. I don't care. I don't watch people I don't enjoy, or I don't engage with content that I don't think works. This is exactly why I don't waste my time pursuing or worrying about women. With women, their love is always conditional and they feel as if you are a raw deal. A man means absolutely nothing to them. Well, again, that's why I said it's really interesting to me that people want you to do all these efforts for someone to maybe care about you, that are like to such a to such a greater extent than people that actually do. Like, if someone said, "Oh, go to the gym so that your brother might maybe want to talk to you," that person will get laughed at because my brother will talk to me regardless if I go to the gym, regardless of how much money I have, regardless of pretty much anything I do other than treating him well. It's just it's really interesting how the people you're supposed to not do anything for the people that actually care about you and actively show it, by accepting you for who you are and like speaking to you as often as they do, while also putting so much effort into getting people who don't care about you to, maybe decide you're worth being given the time of day eventually. I just find that really condescending when they do that. Oh, what I find ironic as well is when you find a chick appealing enough to go on a date with, she'll reject a romantic proposal, but will help you. Yeah, I saw that before. That's what the one that agreed to marry me tried to do. I guess that people want others to buy love and loyalty. Hey, remember the old saying, you can't make someone like you. Let's read what else is here. They definitely are. I don't know. I think a lot of this stuff is. I just think chicks are overrated. I think that the most you should have to approach is probably like 5 or 10, and then if it goes beyond that, that says something about them more than you. Because remember, people always say that not all women are the same, right? They always claim that. So if they're not all the same, shouldn't you be able to find one that is willing to go on a date without having to talk to enough for the construction of a small militia? That's why I said people just they're so contradictory in the things that they talk about. I guess these. Oh, okay, I already read that. That's what happens when nobody writes anything for a while. I start to read the same comment twice. Yeah, I'm much more subdued than usual. It's just been a really difficult last couple of weeks. I guess the best way to put it. And it sucks when you have to always have this guard up because you know that there are people online that'll attack you, and they don't have any empathy. They're uh, devoid of any basic human understanding of how to treat somebody else. Because I always remember the video that had the 200,000 views on it. Um, I'll admit freely that my dialogue when it comes to chicks has become more, I guess, rude or perverse, and that's why I find it all the more jarring that on a video where I was largely respectful of them, right? Didn't call anybody out their name, didn't, just it's funny that you talk about them in like this calm manner, no bad terms used, and then you get attacked in such a vicious way. Hmm. Always have to have your guard up. You're right. You can't make someone like you. That's a hard pill to swallow, especially for a lot of attractive people. I've taken that pill because it's better to deal with the bitter reality. I just don't think if someone likes you, you should have to do all this stuff. And that's why I said about, the double standards, that if I was sitting here and telling people that, or telling women they have to go to the gym and become millionaires to maybe get a date from me, I'd look like a lunatic. But people have no problem writing that stuff in my comment section. And it's like, you guys really believe in the entire history of men that no man has ever not had muscles and been with someone? So they don't even think, they just type whatever. That's why I said before, it's just that it's romantic rejection commentary is the equivalent of someone throwing a bunch of darts at a board and trying to see which one sticks. Even some lesbians realize they don't like other women and see how women move different around guys. I always found myself pondering why dating specialists all give the same advice to men, such as having to maintain a level of dominance over women in order to have her respect. I just don't take them seriously. Like I always remember that most of the people that are in my comment section talking about the way I look hide their faces, and I ironically enough saw someone do that to someone on Discord over this past week, where she has her face like as her avatar, and this guy was insulting the way she looked, and he's got some Grim Reaper picture. Just even they do this stuff on other sites to other people as well. But the other thing I noticed is that out of all the guys that write this advice stuff, none of them ever show proof they're with a woman. Out of all the ones that have come in my comment section, not a single one has shown proof they have a girlfriend or wife or whatever. So that's why I just don't take random internet people seriously, because they come on here and try to sound as if they're the most, like, if you listen to them, they sound like James Bond ripoffs. Like, oh yeah, I have this mansion and I've got these muscles and I'm so wealthy and my woman has uh, a cup size that's so enormous. Like, it's just, they I don't take them seriously, because everyone knows that when people come online, they try to project an image of themselves that is usually fabricated and is usually done to make themselves look good compared to everybody else. So that's what I do. I remember those videos. You were very calm, respectful of the people you were addressing. Then many people swarmed you with insults, antagonistic comments, and all that trash. Yeah, it's just a gradual evolution. Like, if people are going to be nasty to you, you should be allowed to be nasty to them. That's why it was funny to read that part of Tony's trash where he said, you treat something to the effect of, you treat people online like crap. You know, speak for yourself. You're a random person I've never seen before writing 7 paragraphs attacking me on my own channel. So then when you get insulted back, you're a glass cannon. You play victim just for critiquing chicks based on your own personal experiences with them. It really was uncalled for. So your tone changed accordingly as direct result to many people who insulted you back then. Yeah, because I really did believe when I made those first 10 or so either videos or streams about this stuff, that if you came on here and spoke in a cordial manner, we didn't call anybody out of their name, you didn't yell at somebody, you could actually have like a pleasant discussion. Hey, how naive I was. It's also very disturbing that people on here will body shame you. The only people who do that are people who are insecure. And it's even more disturbing when you consider the type of content I make. And I mentioned this before. If I did videos where I took women's pictures and said, "Look at how hideous she is. Oh my God, what an eyesore," I would completely understand. You know, I wouldn't like it still, but it would make so much more sense for that to be the response I got, because I would be the person who initiates talking about the way someone looks then being given the same type of raw deal. But instead, the reverse is true. We discuss bad behavior because I don't want to get caught up in the minutia of who's pretty and who isn't, and you get attacked regardless. Oh, it is projection. Like I said, how's that one song go? Make me feel tiny if it makes you feel tall. And the only light I have is that TV in the corner. I really would like to put that on, but it's just it clashes with the rest, so I don't even bother with it. What else was I gonna say? But yeah, I give those examples earlier because I understand what it's that when you don't have someone that you cared about anymore, it messes with your mind. It really throws you off course. There was an article I was reading a little while ago before I started streaming where this person talked about how um, when this man was, I think, 16, 17, 18, his dad died, and how his dad would take him to uh, all the games he wanted to, like baseball, whatever, and then buy him games to play, and uh, you know, pretty much was just there for him, right? And so it was this very tight relationship that just suddenly was, snatched away, and that without him, his son became a shadow. And it goes back to this whole theme of how, yeah, the person can still do things he did before. He can not bring him up, I guess, in conversation, but the fact that that person was there still registers with them, still plays a part in how they go about themselves afterwards. Some people just love to take advantage of people who want to conduct themselves in a well-mannered way just to see you break. Well, look, the thing is, with people that don't like romance commentary, you're basically in a lose-lose situation because no matter how calmly you speak, no matter how articulate you are, no matter if you don't use any profanity, don't scream, you'll have them say you're crying about not being with the woman, because that's just the way they dismiss this stuff. You're not allowed to complain about this topic is their belief system. And there are videos, to be fair, of men on here going, and raging over a lady, which I don't have a problem with them doing because I've already said I completely understand getting sick of this stuff with chicks. It's very redundant, repetitive, and annoying. But like I said, it's like there's varying levels to how people speak about them, and they as long as you are critical of them, they will dismiss it as crime. So you don't that's why I said it's like for me to sit there and actually care about what they say, I would have to be concerned with the opinions of people who weren't going to like me anyway. So it's whatever. That's why in the video I made sure to show you where um of those three guys I showed, two of them where they never left any comments before or after the trash that they wrote on that one particular video. And that's just not someone I really feel the need to cater to because I'm someone that posts stuff fairly regularly. There are people who comment much more often than one time. So it's like why should I care about someone who doesn't care about my content? I don't understand. And by the way they act online, they're probably just as worse in person. Well, we already talked about people online, 'cause they come on here to try to pretend to be better than they actually are. And to go back to what you said about projection, that's why when I was talking about that guy's comment, the 2900, the woman hero, I stated that, it's so ironic, right? Because you have people who tell me to do all of these different things to maybe get a date, to have that person telling you that you're not the only person in her world. It's like, no, you believe these chicks, when I speak to one of them, are, they're the only person in my world who I'm supposed to be locked into something with. The only person who there's too much expected from is me. Like, I wouldn't be able to make a video. I've been criticized for everything if I had not been attacked over everything, every minor detail. I had a guy last year do a stream about my couch. I kid you not. So it's like, what is the purpose of addressing anything these people say if they're just going to keep nitpicking you over and over? Yeah, thanks to the YT app, it allows you to send me comments they've left on the channel. Because I told you, when I see those weird comments, 9 times out of 10, it's by someone I've never seen before. I can't remember the last time someone who had more than maybe 10 comments on my channel just started writing weird stuff. Like that Gertz person had multiple comments, but he was always bizarre. And I might put out a DVD mobile video tomorrow or whatever, like at some point this week, because I was playing some matches yesterday and I with randoms and I surprisingly won both of them, so I might release that. That game still had, like, the biggest issue I have with that game and playing with people is, a bunch of people on your friend list that will not play with you ever. That is so annoying. Every day of the week you send them an invite, no response. It's really irritating. Whoa, that's like extreme. What can you discuss about someone's couch of a person in a video? So he was responding to a stream we did about Dragon Ball. And it's so, by the way, the website got rid of him a short time ago, so I'm not sympathetic at all. But what's so frustrating about this guy is he would get upset that people would make clickbait videos, or they have some thumbnail that isn't actually what's in the video, that they like say things without having any proof, and I literally do none of that, right? And I get attacked over the length of my stream because it's an hour where we're talking about one of the chapters, which, by the way, this same person has literally done 6-hour streams at least 4 times from what I've seen. And start saying your couch looks like it's from a, just it's the same thing that people do with chicks. They don't actually address what you're saying. This stuff just gets more and more ridiculous all the time. Yeah. I think that was around the same week that the other guy made the video on me with my name in the title. The one that said I deal in stuff he's trying to stay away from after spending an entire year on my channel. Because we all know that's what you do. You sit around the channel of someone that you don't like for a year when you're trying to get away from them, right? No, this is a ridiculous website and that's why I did the video. I've been criticized for everything. That's why I don't take it seriously when someone comes in here and starts writing weird stuff, because it's all been written before. It was just really frustrating because this person, has these like specific critiques they have when they're watching videos, and because he can't criticize anything I'm actually saying because it's all valid, or stuff I guess he agreed with, I don't know. He has to talk about, crap that like and then in his comment section they were talking about the way I looked in there. So it's just it never stops. Maybe I make points that are so good people just can't. They have to attack stuff that's out of my control, or something that is irrelevant to be able to say anything. I don't know. I know I don't do this to other people. I can't believe it's really that hard to not talk about the way someone looks. That's sad. The only time I go out of my way to describe the way someone looks is if I'm drawing them, because a lot of times I'll get a picture of the person and then I'll go, okay, this person has these type of eyes, and then like their hair in proportion to their forehead, just. But that's not even like talking trash about the person's appearance, or like it's not the same as what these people do. Like I'm not going to their comment section. I believe you are hideous. I'm simply describing the way they look for an illustration. That's the only time I do that. Yeah, I quite like drawing real life people because it's always like usually I only draw people I really like, like some actor or some sometimes some politicians, not that often, but I like that, like, this person is so interesting to me that they're like I'm willing to challenge myself artistically in that manner to how to explain it. It's like you wouldn't try to draw most people or just anyone, right? So it's like a special um tribute to that person to like sit there and get two, three, four, five different pictures of them and then try to draw something based off of those images together. Why can't they just accept the fact that looks is such a heavily subjected topic? Yeah, well, it goes back to this thing of how you can never blame the woman. Let me say hello to Jem. So I remember when I was in high school, when I was in middle school, there were multiple, you can call them girls, whatever, that my classmates did not find attractive. you know and it's like that's why it's so weird to see people now online act like every single woman is a supermodel, and oh, they're all so amazingly breathtakingly beautiful. You could never appeal to them with your hideous appearance. It's like, just again, that stuff is more Twilight Zone, trash, because I live in the real world, and in the real world men talk about the way women look. They talk about how annoying they are. They criticize them all the time, and nobody calls them the I word. People just accept that men sometimes talk trash about women. Women sometimes talk trash about men. Only difference is when you come online, one side gets slapped with 900 different, weird response comments, and the other side gets away scot free. So it's uh it's just another one of those double standards. And another retcon. Like, oh yeah, all the chicks are so amazingly beautiful, and that's why you can't get one. Yeah, because that's why I had classmates who talked about the way girls look, right? Because they were all so beautiful. It was so crazy too, because I remember after like I think 10th or 11th grade, yeah, like 11th grade, that was when people stopped talking about the way like if there was a guy talking about the way someone looked, he was usually talking about the way a female student looked, because him and the other guys were like, oh man, I like the way she looked, that kind of thing. Um, but outside of that, like we didn't sit around just talking about the way each other look. And even when I got to college, it was the same thing. No one really sat there and did this. It wasn't until like when coming on here has been like being stuck in ninth, 10th, and then like 11th grade as well, because this was over. I like drawing. I usually would draw cartoon, video game, anime related characters. I wasn't good at doing real life portraits. Yeah, whenever I do one of those, I always get, so if it's like a famous person, right? I always get a picture of the front of their face, the side, and then sometimes the back, again, depending on what the pose is. Um, and then, look at some other pictures, what kind of stuff do they usually like wearing, if I have some specific outfit I want them in. Um, So that's just the process for me. And usually once you get through with the face, it's much easier to finish it because the face is always the hardest part. I remember the first person I ever drew that was like based off a real life person was my grandpa, and I remember that he showed the picture to because he was wearing this like yellow I think it was a sweater, and he showed it to one of his like brother-in-law, and he said it looked nice. It's just nice when you draw someone and they instantly know it's them. Like that just always has this real gratifying feeling for me. Like they can just recognize. They don't even have to like know the name or anything. You just the details, make it obvious. Draw landscapes. And here comes James being the 11th hour ranger. I really enjoyed having 4 mods, but looks like I'm only going to have 3 again because James is going to delete his channel once more. I'm going to miss James after he reboots himself. Usually takes a long time to do real life portraits as well. Um, Not if you draw it small. Like one of the things I do if the person's by themselves, again, assume I'm not doing like some group picture because that always takes more time anyway. I like to start with the eyes because the eyes are the basis for which I can do the rest of the face, and then at that point it usually isn't as long for me because there's a lot of details that you don't necessarily have to incorporate depending on how small it is. Like you can just kind of assume that if a person's further away or an image is not as detailed because of how far the person is, you're not going to have everything you would normally have. Drawing people are hard, got to get the features just right. I might just delete my recent video I made. Oh, I've never seen you do that before. All these channel reboots. Yeah, the parts that are usually the most, I don't know. I guess the eyes are sometimes difficult depending on who it is, and then the nose, and then after that, it's I don't want to call it a cakewalk, but like jowls and like the way the rest of the face is structured. I don't usually have that much of an issue with. Like I'll admit I don't sometimes do all the details on the ears, um, but I try to. No, I don't have an issue with lips more often than not. Only time they become an issue is if I'm coloring something and I have to like decide is the top one darker, is the one at the bottom lighter, stuff like that. Let me see. Am I missing anybody else's comment? I remember when that guy made the stream and the stream wasn't all about the couch. He was doing a series of response videos to different people, and I remember I had a joke that I was gonna like put the camera in front of the couch and that it would be I would speak as the couch responding to his video, but I just wasn't really that amused by what he did. It did kind of upset me because again, it's another one of those like minor details that I don't really see the need to like. If he wasn't whining about that, he would just be whining about the length of the video or the stream. You spend an hour talking about a chapter, even though I do 6 hour streams myself. Just it's not worth my time. Oh, the eyes are difficult for me. I always need to make sure I do them properly and not make a single mistake, or I'm not going to be happy about how it looks. Yeah, So to kind of backtrack, Jim, imagine someone telling you that you can't discuss. That's a 40-page chapter too. Like these aren't the little like weekly ones. These are the monthly ones. You can't discuss something that comes out once a month for an hour a month, but somebody else allowed to do streams that are 6 hours long multiple times. Yeah, you will never see me do one that long ever. I don't care if I'm getting elected to an office. You won't. The most you might see out of me is 2.5 hours, and even that's like pushing it. Like the longest one I ever did was for only long for that reason because I had over 100 people watching me, and I was just in shock from how many people were there. So you won't see me doing that long ever. But to backtrack a little bit, to go back to the depression over loss aspect of the stream that kind of deviated from what we were discussing. It's really, how to explain this. So you have these clowns, right, that come on here and they say things to the effect of "You're too young," uh, "Just give it time," "Oh, you have the rest of your life to do this," blah blah blah, blah. All that stuff. And I just want to give you a hypothetical, right? We're going to use Megumi as an example. Let's say Megumi is 20. Just here's an example. And Megumi's mother is, actually no, I'll take it back. Megumi's dad is like 50. And let's say Megumi's dad wants to see his grandkids, and Megumi wants to have children as well. So it's like a thing where they both agree to it. But Megumi's never allowed to reproduce because every time he talks to a woman, even the ones that say they like him back, he either has one that backtracks and can never even get them to go on a date, much less actually become a couple to where they would be comfortable enough to do something like that together. Or he meets some woman that says she doesn't want to have kids. So year after year, this thing that both Megumi wants to see happen and Megumi's dad wants to see happen never comes to pass. And then Megumi's dad, he 10 years later he's 60, another 10 years he's 70, and you know, when he passes, Megumi's like 40, 40 something, 50, whatever. So you could say, yeah, Megumi still has another few decades to pop out a kid, but now the person that he wanted to, see this happen with is no longer there because of how long it took for one of these, chicks to actually do something that, again, if they were actually different from each other, wouldn't have taken that long to have happened, based on how many of them he was talking to. So that's one of the reasons that age thing really pisses me off, because you don't, you can use someone's age against them, but you don't understand that there are people who are much older or just older, period, who, they might actually want to be around for some of this stuff to happen. I know that if I were elected to an office, let's say in a year, which I don't believe that happened, but let's say 3 years, 5 years, I would want my parents to see it. You know, I like that. That's one of the reasons I hate these stupid comments these people write, because they don't have any type of understanding of someone's life other than what they see on this camera. I remember when I wrote my first book, and my grandpa was reading it. He was the only person I let read that thing before putting it out. I didn't go, oh, I'll wait until I'm 30 to make one of these, because again, you don't know who's going to be around. And again, that stuff is just it's more proof of why I really don't like people on here, because you can sit here and talk about how young somebody is, but you sure as hell don't know how old the people that they actually care about are. Well, Megumi, I'm just saying that, you know, they can use your age against you. But a lot of times, if you seem like you're rushing to have something happen, it's because the people around you, you can reasonably expect, don't have as much time as you do. because they never consider. It's funny they say that I thought I was the only person in this woman's world. It's like you don't consider the people in my world. Like which ones are older? Which ones do I have this concern or worry that if I don't do these things now, won't be around to see it? They just don't care. They have no type of consideration or anything for the fact that hey, maybe somebody that you think is too young to do whatever is trying to do it at this point so that someone that they care about can actually see them accomplish something that's worth a damn. Because see, I don't even think the first book I wrote was that amazing or great. It was just nice to get an idea and stick with it and write it all the way through, proofread it, and then put it out. It was nice to overcome writer's block to take something and just actually see it be made. It was the same thing with my show. I don't even care that that thing still doesn't have 1,000 views after 5 years. I'll always remember the 8 times I wrote that first episode script. And when I finally got two people to agree to be voice actors, I said, all right, you know what? We're gonna write this based off the premise of how many people we have on it. No more rewrites. This is it. And then I made it. That's a good point. They don't want to delve deeper into why you want children or soon, perhaps because there could be health issues in your family. Like you said, you don't know how long people will be around. Yeah. They have no consideration for anything that they see but beyond surface level BS. And that's why I don't like these bastards. I don't sit online speculating on people's lives. I always take them at the face value of what they say about themselves, unless it's some you know, overdone nonsense like, oh, I have 9 girlfriends or something like that. But when they say, oh, this happened to me, I'll take them at their word. But that's why I said this issue of like wanting to be with someone and wanting to do this stuff with chicks is so much more nuanced than he just wants to get one of them in bed so he can put his banana in her. They don't consider any of this stuff beyond surface level trash. You being refused or rejected are as decades pass and more time pass, you aren't getting any younger, and of course your parents or relatives aren't either. Nobody's entitled to tomorrow. Exactly. Yup, surface level BS is the internet these days, just people saying their points but not really trying to understand on the other side. No. Like I said, if you have these individuals, right? And I guess it's all about this, right? They want to make everything that happens to you seem like it's justified somehow. Um, and they don't care who it affects, who's hurt by it, why your motivations are the way they are. It's just they write their little surface level trash, and that's how they feel. They feel vindicated by that. They'll say that dumb stuff about you trying to bang a bunch of broads. You could easily just go to Reno or Vegas and hook up. That's why I said it's a really stupid thing. Every time somebody types that, it's like, yes, I would speak to this woman that lives. I mean, it's like people apparently don't understand. I would be spending way more to go to Argentina, which is where that broad from that recording was in, than to go to the state right next to mine. And I'd be getting a lot more bang for my buck, no pun intended, if I went to the state next to mine as opposed to going to see her in another country. A country I would never even step foot in, mind you, unless I wasn't so um, desperate to go on a date. I don't know why Jim said wow, but I guess I'll live with the mystery. Colombia is a better choice. Right, but I'm just giving I'm simply stating where she's from and giving the example of how to want to travel that far for something I could get for a smaller price should at least tell you that, yeah, this person actually probably likes her and wants to get to know her and all the rest of that stuff. You know, it's not just so I said, it's just, people on here are clowns. That's all it is. Well, Megumi, I told you that you have a lot of when I did the video, the admits jealousy video. I mentioned the Kobe plane crash and how his daughter had died as well, and I use that as an example of how that's why I don't take these people seriously when they start talking about, oh, just wait this amount of time, oh, you're only this age, because again, no one's entitled to tomorrow. Like when I want to do a video, I go out and do it. You know, like it's just it's so weird to me that they use age as the basis to be lazy, to not do the things you want to do because you're under the assumption you have this unlimited amount of time to do it. They just simplify every guy who wants to get a date with a woman. They also act like they all just want to get screwed, but don't factor in you can get that at a price if you really wanted that. Yeah. It's really sad. Because I'll admit it's not I don't really get anything as far as like I don't get compensated in some great way for doing videos on chicks. I just saw a bunch of people who kept treating me and others, and I felt in a poor manner, and decided to commentate on it. And in response to that commentary, you have people who their rebuttal is to attack you in some personal way. Yeah, don't think you can have all the time to play around and think you have an infinite amount of time to do stuff. Time waits for no one. Yeah, it's just unfortunate that you try to explain this to these people and they don't want to listen because there are so many of them who speak in this like really condescending way. Um, oh, I'm this age, so I know more than you, so listen to me. And it's just I remember my father 4 years ago said, if you want to do something, go out and do it. Don't you just start it. Just don't sit here and do all this dilly dallying and actually, try to progress it. And that I find that to be such an ironic piece of advice to get from him. Uh, you know, in contrast with all these other people, like the person who actually knows me and has met me in real life, uh, says, "Yeah, do things as soon as you can," and then all the clowns at computers say, "Oh no, wait 5, 10, 15 years and all these other extended periods." I think that's really ironic. Age can be wisdom and age can be arrogance. Yeah. I once heard a young girl sitting with her mother in a next to me. Then she literally said, "I'm not a friend of long-term relationships, so much for romance." That's what happens when you believe all the chicks are so great and amazing and all they want to do is be with someone and learn who they are and all the rest of it. When they give them like the benefit of the doubt on such an extreme level that they refuse to criticize them for any messed up thing they intend to do or have done. They can say things like that and it's considered normal. It's not like you're rushing to get this done as you have foresight and long-term thinking and wanting to actually plan a successful and healthy relationship with a willing chick. Yeah. And like I said, a lot of the ones that I see happening, there was no long-term planning. We talked about the dingbat with the baby. It's a woman who has a guy paying for her stuff, and then because the guy is so desperate, he puts up with her trash, and then one day they get in bed without any protection, and then a kid, that they didn't plan nor seemingly want, pops out, 9 months later. Where's the planning in that? But again, when you are upfront about what you want, when you are willing to do this in a manner that is what's the way of saying it? Methodical, right? Nothing. It really is odd. We have so many avenues to date, online apps, the internet. We still have social gathering vicinities, and yet it's harder now than when we had less avenues, it seems. Yeah. Don't let anybody tell you that it's easier than ever to get a date, because if it was, you wouldn't have these groups of men online talking about how insane chicks are. If I did a video on how hard it was to get a date, I would get a whole bunch of downvotes and people saying, "What are you talking about? I just got this woman yesterday." Instead, the reverse is true. But it isn't your fault if the chicks keep rejecting you and refusing to give you a chance. Yeah. Are just weird to me. These men hinder themselves with those labels. Again, I'm not part of anyone's team. I've had people call me those terms as well, including the guy that stole my videos. I'm just tired of chicks, you know. So I don't affiliate with them, even because they don't own that belief. Like, there are a lot of men that are just tired of chicks. They'll even label those things, even though he's never claimed to be a part of those dumb groups. Yeah, very true indeed. But many people online would preserve the image or fantasy that it's so easy to get with a chick. New Nexus, I'm really not in that good of a mood today. So can you please stop talking about these groups? Otherwise, I will ban you. Like, just discuss something else or don't mention them. And this will be your only warning. I feel like it's pretty obvious I'm not in as good of a mood. Have you seen me smile during this stream? Yeah, and I'll be the one leading it, James. One who won't waste your time, gaslight you, etc., but will actually have a progressing love life. I mean, it's sad, Megumi. Honestly, a lot of men are having difficulties with this, and I think society has overlooked this. Let me respond to Megumi's comment first. Um, when you have people, right, who tell you that you're supposed to go out and approach the woman, you're supposed to appeal to her, and then you speak to one of them and she's calling you funny and trying to have these private calls with you where it's just the two of you speaking, sometimes for extended periods of a time, and she's telling you how much she cares about you and is laughing at the stuff you're saying. You're not wrong to think that person might be interested, but the only reason I don't think that now is because I've seen so many of them do that, that it's like, again, it's like if you read 100 books and in 99 of them the main villain is revealed to be the dad of the protagonist. It was shocking the first time, maybe the second, but after the 10th, 30th, 60th time, it just becomes redundant, and it becomes a thing of, what can you trust if you're going to keep getting the same result no matter what happened beforehand? Because I mentioned before, when I was in seventh, eighth, ninth grade, this didn't happen. You would have one of them, you ask them on a date, they say no, that's it. Um, it's only in becoming an adult, and I guess reaching closer to adulthood, when I was in 11th grade and 12th grade, that it's become a much more plot twist, red herring dimension. That's sadly the dilemma. Just never know where you stand with some people these days. It would be reasonable to believe a girl is interested if she acts interested, but you can't trust nothing. Gumi says, yeah, as in it loses its surprise factor. You've gotten this result so many times. Exactly. You can't be sure anymore. And that's why even with the one that asked me on a date, I had this gut feeling. I said, this is going wrong too many times. Always says because, like you said, they can easily renege. It doesn't matter what they tell you before; they can switch their mind very easily. I had this one person talk. I remember I don't still have the comments anywhere saved, but I remember I had this one comment from what apparently was a woman who said some of the effect of when will men understand that women are allowed to change their minds and that's okay. And I thought to myself, why is it that when these people call my stuff, they always try to make things more simple than they actually are? Like, for example, if I said, Megumi, let's talk tomorrow, and it's tomorrow, and I go, Megumi, let's talk in 2 days. That's a lot different in terms of changing your mind than, oh, let's get married. Let's go on a date after you've asked multiple women out on a date before and they've said no. So I'm making it look like it's finally going to be the reverse. Let me tell you over the phone how I want to have intercourse with you, and then uh, make it seem as if I'm so interested in you. But then in the next couple of days, I can't even schedule a phone call. Oh, it's oversimplification at its finest. And it's one of the reasons that these people get banned because this is not just about getting rejected after you ask for a date. This is about people giving you these stretched out sagas where they lead you on to get you to think maybe this will be different, maybe this won't be the same as it has been before, and then they just backpedal or renege or they pull the plot twist, and people think because they believe if you're a male you're the woman's slave, right? That you're supposed to put up with this forever. Like if these people got their way, I would be making a video about some new chick that rejected me every 2 weeks. Like I'd have probably 300, 400 romance videos. Like, oh, here's some screenshots what this one said. Here's what she said the day before. Two split or multiple personalities. Remember, I said they're like Blitzwing from Transformers Animated, where it was the cold personality, the hot one, the crazy one. Okay, Envoy says, one day I care about you so much. You mean so much to me. Next day, who are you? Just odd behavior. Yeah, there was a woman on Instagram. This wasn't even romantic. That's why it was all the more irritating. Who said, "You mean something to me," and then blocked me the next day. That was earlier this year. About so like I'm not talking about something that happened 10 years ago. That was earlier this year. Exactly. It's not just rejection. It's the fact. It's the fake BS. I care about you. It's dangling a carrot in front of you and yanking it away because they wanted to entertain themselves. And then Akatsuki Merchant says, I feel like some people get off on giving others false hope. Yeah, they like to do this because they look, they know that nobody wants to talk to a woman who has a boyfriend. Nobody wants to talk to a woman who's not actually interested in them. So they're actors. They pretend to like you and then they backflip. It's either this. They either are liars, which is the theory that I go with sometimes, or they're insane, which is another theory that has validity. Like you could pick your poison, but neither one is good. Always says, I've heard some women say this, even men, they get this odd joy playing with people's emotions. I could talk to 6 or 7 chicks, right? Not every day, but just ones that I'm interested in and like I'm speaking to them in some casual manner. And I can swear on everything that is holy. All of them I am interested in to some level. By the way, there was I think I mentioned that one of those clowns in the past, I'm forgetting which one it was, actually like was shocked or was like, "So you were talking to two women at the same time?" Because apparently, if you're a man, you're not allowed to talk to multiple women that you're not dating at the same time. But apparently, a woman can talk to multiple men that she's not dating without, I guess, being accused of being two timing. It was just such a weird like she said that um as if we live in the, I don't want to say it's some primitive but you get how insane it is that we know for a fact that women talk to multiple men at the same time, a lot of times anyway. But when a man talks to two women at the same time, neither of which has said they're his girlfriend, neither of which is he in any kind of relationship with, that's like a shocking bad thing. Yeah, I see no issue with men talking to 10 chicks if they want, because if it's the way it usually is where you have to go to them and start something with them, most of them aren't even going to be interested in you back anyway. Like that's the difference between a woman talking to 30 guys that send her a message on Reddit or Tinder or some other website, and a man talking to 10 or 20 women that he sent a message to on these same sites. He's messaging all of these people because he's worried that only one or possibly none of them will like him back. So he's throwing as many darts in every direction as he can, while the woman is just sitting there, yanking everyone's chain to see who she wants to play with the longest. So it's two different things. The man talks to that many chicks because he's worried that nobody will like him back and they'll pick somebody else over him, while the woman speaks to as many men as she does because she just wants the attention. Like seriously, I would have no issue talking to just one chick, uh, if I didn't believe and know for a fact that a lot of them like to, do the "oh, you mean so much to me," blah 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 thing, and then go and date somebody else. Usually, in healthy, normal people, you treat people nicely and respect that, and expect that to be reciprocated or at least being disrespected. You get the point. It's not the same. It might sound like it is, but it isn't. I just gave the reason for why that's the case. But really, I don't see a problem with talking to multiple people if you're not with someone. I don't really understand the issue with that. Right, but a lot of people these days think they can talk to you how they want and still get respect from others. It's insane behavior. And we showed in the video, he believed that he wasn't being rude to me just because he didn't call me out of my name. Because apparently, if you don't call somebody out of their name, you can't be disrespectful toward them. Even though, I guess saying that someone lacks introspection and all this other stuff is apparently nice in his twisted version of reality. They shouldn't throw stones at you if they live in a glass house. Oh, they do. I don't know. I just think that I'll never quite be able to understand why they act the way they do. I couldn't imagine being a straight man that is like so angry at another man for talking about random chicks I've never met before that I write paragraphs to him. And according to a Kotsky merchant, he went to his channel and was talking about me as well. It's just stuff like that is very strange to me. Yeah, a lot of people online are glass cannons. yeah, they get to insult you and talk trash about you, but then when they get talked about as well, then it's suddenly a big issue. I was in one server where this lady called some guy a drunk something, and then he called her the B word, and then her boyfriend was like trying to say that what he said crossed the line, or what was like what she said was not acquittal. What's the way of saying it? Was not equal. So what she said wasn't as bad as what he said. It was like, you she insulted him first. It's on record. So is he supposed to not insult back? It's just that same thing of the glass cannon stuff. Oh, let me call you out of your name. You call me out of my name. Let me cower in a corner. Just seems like these guys constantly think about you. Tell you, they take a man that can't even get 100 views a video and blow him up to be this big, huge character. It's really nuts. Megumi says, yeah, but she initiated this first. Well, remember what I said before, right? That people want to be able to say anything they want about you, but then they also want to control how you respond to what they say. I've seen plenty of chicks, not plenty, but a couple who found I did a video about them and were like so outraged. And how could you talk about me on this video? It's like, no, you don't control the way I respond to you. Okay, Envoy says, "Oh, Justin, I've seen that plenty of times. Some women will insult men, hit men, abuse men, but dare a man react to it, you will have a platoon of men to come to her rescue." Yeah, they put their cape on. And then Envoy furthers, "I would respect those men who try to diffuse the situation, but they always take the woman's side. It's so ridiculous." Megumi says, "You can't throw insults at someone and expect to not get insulted back. You get what you gave." Yeah. Well, so that's why I always felt like the treatment toward me with this chick stuff was so disproportionately nasty. Like, I swear to you, I've never gone on a woman's video or another man's video and talked about the way they looked, said they were going to shoot up a school, blow up a building, molest someone. None of this stuff has ever been said by me about another human being that posts videos on this site. Um, I've never sat here and, like, of course we all have preferences, but like, even if it's a woman, right? I've never sat here and critiqued publicly what attire she had on in the video. Just I don't do this stuff to other people, and that's why it feels so weird that they're like real hell bent on reacting this way. Okay, Envoy says, Megumi, that's the funny thing. There's legitimately people in the world who think you can't say anything back. You're just supposed to stand there like a moron. Yeah, just gotta sit there and take the abuse. Akatsuki Merchant says they want to be able to talk to you how they want and control how you respond to them. It's a very good deflection tactic that abusers use. Pretty much. Always says if a woman calls Justin a bastard and Justin calls her the B word, I would say both said something that aren't nice, but I sure as hell jump into the defense of the woman and trying to fit and jumping. Yeah. Um, it's really ironic to see women complain about getting called the B word when they call each other that all the time. Like, I can go on Twitter right now and find multiple screenshots of women calling other women the B word. which again they have the right to do. But that's what I said. I just hate the double standards. Like you guys call each other this, and then you get mad when somebody else calls one of you this because they're not female. I suppose. Funny how that works. You know, it's like I don't like being called the N word. That's why I don't call anybody the N word. Just trying to be consistent. But again, the internet is like one of the most racist places anyway. So it is like you saw the guy that came on my stream was that 3 Mondays ago talking about your all this. I don't even want to repeat it because I want to get demonetized, but you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, those losses really do. They stay with you. That dude was another clown. hmm Um, I just wish people, actually considered the things they type before they actually, before they try to write it. People behind her computer screens, of course, folks will be on. Oh yeah, well, they'll run their mouths because they feel strong when they type stuff to me. But with that kid thing, that was one of the reasons that motivated me to want to do it when I wanted to, because it was like you don't know how long these other people are going to be around, and it's like I get so sick of them doing that because we have proof that there have been multiple people who died before they were 30, sometimes who died before they were 20, sometimes died before they were 10. And it's like you can't sit here and tell someone that they can put off doing something they really want to do on the premise that they can eventually do it with this amount of time that they're not like, again, I don't have plot armor. I can't guarantee I'll be alive another 40 years. It's like that's the stuff that just really irritates me because they don't consider the very real possibility that a person can be there in front of you one day and then not the next. Look at Heath Ledger. How was he when he died? 28. If you saw any picture of him before he passed, you would think he was in perfect health, that he'd be around another 10 years. He played Joker some more times and it didn't happen. I don't know why people act this way. I don't know why it's so difficult for them to understand that doing this little like dumb age thing is not it's just not helpful. They really don't consider the nuances when it comes to this. Otherwise, they'd think before typing this trash of platitudes towards someone. And then Jem says people are fickle. Well, Megumi, their whole purpose is to ignore specific things about you as a person when they try to like stick you in those groups or when they're doing their little generic speech. Just like, let's say I wanted to run for office, right? And someone says, "Oh, wait until you're 40." It's like, okay, maybe I can say I could see myself being alive and healthy in 15 or 16 years, but can I say the same for my parents? Can I say the same, like, you just it's not a, it's funny, like, oh, you're not the only thing in her world. I am not the only thing in my world. So there are other people that factor into when you want to do this stuff. Yeah, exactly, Jem. Why wait? You want to do something, do it. Told you, one of my proudest things will always be writing that first book because I didn't wait until random decade, whatever, you know. someone that I loved was able to read something I wrote in its entirety. Uh, it was good. But see, again, that goes back to why I don't really respect a lot of these clowns on here because they're not saying anything that's actually worth reading. They're just typing random weird stuff that doesn't have any consideration in it whatsoever. Which is really weird too because they want you to be very considerate of the chicks, right? Oh, they'll change their minds eventually. They'll stop acting this way at some point. Just keep holding out hope. Just keep on waiting. Told you, you would never see someone tell a woman, "Oh, you want a boyfriend? Just wait 5, 10, 15 years so that, one person with the banana between their legs will, actually reciprocate interest in you and, treat you like a decent human being and want to do things with you of a romantic variety. Just wait uh thousands of days for someone to finally, you know, show interest." Told you that one guy that with the channel where he had his girlfriend on every video. He did a video called "You Were Worth the Wait." Um, and it's so I don't bring that person up to make fun of them. I bring it up because having men have such a limited variety of partners, like almost nothing, right, from the opposite sex, I just don't see where it's productive. Like, if anything, if I had low self esteem or confidence, you can entirely trace it back to them. It's like, yeah, who would be optimistic about this after the same thing happens to them over and over again? Who would be excited to get not only turned down again, but also blamed for it again, no matter what way or what series of events transpired to lead it to that result? I'm glad Serena hasn't shown up again. I'm real sick of that person. This is not 1850. No one is waiting. Who was hold on, let me think. I was trying to wonder who was president in 1850. Pierce? Because I know that Lincoln's 1860, Buchanan is 56. Let me look it up. I want to make sure I got it correct. I actually did want to do a documentary on Pierce. I just didn't get around to writing out the whole thing because he has a really sad life. I got it wrong. It was Fillmore. Oh. Obviously, these people don't consider their own mortality. Yeah, they think you're just supposed to live forever. But see, I told you it goes back to that thing of how, like, they're also pricks. Like, they try to hide behind being nice to show, like, to not seem to be douchebags. Um, they want me to approach a group of people who don't like me year after year until I die. And then, you're not going to hear about, oh man, that was a person who kept trying. I don't know what's wrong with these people. Well, if he had done this, because it never stops being your fault until one of them says yes. By the way, good luck getting one of them to do that. Look at all the people they do this to. You will continue to be crucified over the decisions they make. You never know when you're going to pass away. A great example is the COVID-19 virus. Again, that's why this chick stuff is so frustrating. Like, if you believe that someone should have to wait years, whether they're an adult, whether they're in high school, for one person of the opposite sex to want to at least go on a date with them, I want you to be banned from this channel forever. Like, I don't need to be told that. It's funny. It's like I get called pessimistic, right, for not believing that this stuff is going to change. But it's not pessimistic to think, oh yeah, it totally makes sense for someone to have to talk to 90 chicks to get a date. Yeah, that's like a very normal thing. Told you they have this really weird expectation of men that like you're supposed to have this amazing endurance that no normal human being would be asked to have for something so minute as a date. You know, about I think it was 3 years ago, there was a person who was a friend of one of my relatives that they asked him how they were doing at the hospital. He said fine and then died the next day. And I never met this person. I didn't, but it was so surreal, you know. It's just and it's another illustration of how people don't understand, you know, just the amount of limited time you have to do things and how they think they can use someone's age as an excuse to not allow them to have the things that they want and justify it. Because again, if chicks were truly different from each other, as people say on here, James would have met one that liked him for who he was and dated him. Maybe it didn't work out. Maybe it only went for a few months, but he would have met at least one that was willing to do that, and it lasted for a little bit. Megumi would have met one that did that. Akatsuki Merchant would have met one that did the Envoy would have met one. Like, don't tell me about how different they are if everyone's getting the same result of having their time wasted and being so sick of them that they're talking about them on here today. They're not all the same. Yeah. Well, the ones that are different, I guess, are on another planet somewhere. No, Megumi, if chicks are truly different, wouldn't I have been able to find one that wanted to have a family that actually thought that planning this stuff out instead of just shoving your unprotected sausage into someone was like appealing? Like, wouldn't that have happened if they were not all the same? If they were different from each other, right? And that there was like this one that was just going to come along. Because remember, that's another lie they like to tell. The magic woman that just shows up in X year to do away all the wrongs of her predecessors, which is a very tall order for anyone to do. Let's go back to that guy's comment. I sincerely hope you find yourself a nice lady one day. It'll do you well to not expect this much from someone or so much from someone or whatever trash he wrote. But really think about that. You're going to meet a woman right after years of, and I don't know what everyone's number of chicks they talk to is, but you're going to meet one who is going to be so radically different, right? From all the ones that you've had in the past, that she's going to also like you for who you are and I guess not waste your time. Again, like it just, you see where it starts to sound like a used car salesman, like unbelievable, not because you actually think every single one of them is the exact same, but because they always do the same thing. And this person is like trying to get you to imagine something that they have no proof is actually going to happen. Yup, you just end up getting numb to the whole thing. Gumi says they're not all the same, but most of them seem to really do the same, as in not being receptive and accepting to going on a date or giving a guy a chance. Yeah, that's my point. Okay, Jem's comment got hidden. Let me pull it out. All right, another moderator just handled this. Women are unrealistic. They are all trying to get men in the top 5%. Only so many men are over 6 feet tall, and not so many men make above 100,000. Only so many guys are perfect. Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? That we literally live in a world where people have imperfections. So while there may be rich men, they're like, because most older people tend to be wealthier than younger people. So if you meet a rich man, he's probably not physically fit. And then if you meet a physically fit man, he's probably not rich. So it's just, that's why I said it's like, and again, I talk to other guys and no one sits there going, I wonder what this woman's net worth is. I wonder if she goes to the gym. Stuff like that doesn't matter. If we like the person, those are like they don't even register to us. Man, those double standards get more and more brazen. Imagine telling someone that they have to have 100,000 or more to go on a date. Again, not with another millionaire or with someone that is very wealthy, but with someone that, the only thing she owns is what's in between her legs. That's her claim to fame. And people don't think there's something wrong with that. I don't think that's true. If it was, then almost all men on the planet would not be in a relationship. I like your policy. If you ever got with one, you wouldn't show her on your channel. Yeah, because I'm not trying to make somebody else. See, the problem with, and I'm not trying to sound like a psychiatrist or a therapist, but there is a psychological effect this stuff takes on you after getting the same result over and over. It makes it to where when one of them seems to not be doing that, you still are like, okay, what's the angle here? Is this person actually interested? And if I had one of them that was trying to appear on my channel, I would instantly think, okay, that was the reason they're trying to, get some, because that's what happened with the guy and the woman that he was with. All his videos, always by himself, just like mine. He gets with this woman now they're Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson. They're in every video together, like this, one on this side, one on the other side. And then after they break up, all the stuff with her is deleted. And I'm not about to make a whole bunch of videos with someone just so when I get upset with them, I have to yank it down. So yeah, that's my policy. The only two people you will ever see appear on this channel, barring maybe some other relative that I'm not even sure if they actually want to do this stuff with me. It's my best friend and my little brother. And even then, you don't see them plug in any accounts or saying real names or anything because they're not trying to get famous off of being on my stuff or more attention for themselves. There's no ulterior motive. So I said, you think you have to have 100,000 or more, or be 6 feet, whatever, to have one of the two of them talk to you? Fellas, imagine having an expectation of dating nothing but broads with 36. Meaning, I know a lot of guys like bigger breasts, but nobody will say they'll only date just ridiculous. I don't even know any guy that's like, okay, I'll explain this. I have never once seen a man who didn't like a woman because she was too short. That's never happened. And out of all the guys I've spoken to, and I've never seen a single one say they didn't like one because the size of her chest wasn't large enough to warrant it. If someone thinks if a man thinks a woman is attractive, that's it. That's all I'm trying to say. There is no mind game. There's no let me examine this person. It's just, do I like the way they look? Do I like them as a person? Yes. Okay, that's it. Seriously, I've never seen a single guy in real life. Let me get my ruler out. I'm gonna measure her chest. I've never seen it. Because again, it's like if they thought the face was nice, so she was pretty, whatever, they didn't care. But see, that goes back to my thing of how I truly believe chicks have way more quotas, right? They want the man to meet than the other way around. Because if I showed you, and I don't like doing this, but I showed my best friend what the dingbat with the baby looked like. I showed him what the one that I mentioned, she was in the women's many options video, and she was talking about spanking me, and then started dating some guy in real life, and then her words got PG or whatever and whatever. So she backpedaled and had 30 guys trying to talk to her at once. I showed him what they look like, and he said they're not ugly, but for the life of me, couldn't understand how they could have, they were able to get what they got, basically. Like it was entirely desperation that made them so appealing. It's like, you don't have 30 guys approaching Rihanna. Some world famous musician who has actually done something with her life. Like, this is just a random broad online sitting up there in the snow in the Midwest. That's a good point here too, because you've experienced so much backtracking or refusal from many women, you start to think if they may have an ulterior motive in order to justify their sudden interest in you, especially if they know you from your craft or yeah. Because one of them did ask me if I could shout out her channel. I said, absolutely not. Told you when I was making videos, guess how many bigger channels endorsed me? To take a guess at how many larger channels said, I'm going to swoop down and assist him. Not one. So, no, I don't feel bad when I don't assist people. I was on this website for years, couldn't even get 10 views. But I'm supposed to feel like I have to come and swoop down and say, no, forget that. Yeah. That's the same one that told me to come to her state with $500 for a hotel room. I told her I'm not going to that filth. Like, first of all, the premise is sketchy. Why do I have to go to this state with half a thousand? Secondly, you won't even say if you're interested. Third, you barely answer your phone. So no, I said I'm not doing that. People are just like that. They don't really care. Come to my state with half $1,000. No, she didn't get her shout out, and she didn't get me to visit her filth. Again, if they act like weird before you get over there, I'm not going and traveling that far for that. That's nothing. Like, the person, if they start acting kind of bizarre before you even do any traveling, that's where I say I'm not going. Because you would think it's a lot easier to act pleasant over the internet than in real life, right? Because a lot of times you can control what you say if you're typing it, stuff like that. So she didn't get her wish. No, they don't care at all. And, it's like, all right, I just won't care with them. They're gonna sit here and insult me and call me out of my name and act nuts. I'll just I'll treat you in a similar manner. It's crazy how this stream has gone a little off the rails. But yeah, I just want it to be understood that there are a lot of things that happen to people that they don't get over. Someone doesn't have to die in a tragic way to affect them, for years to come or for some long period of time. Just wish more people on here would realize that. And I just don't have the same insensitivity that they do. And there was a part of me that didn't want to do the stream because I was just sitting there in a not so good mood before doing this. But I always try to fight back whatever mood I'm in to get on here and have some consistent schedule. I just like consistency. I just like when people do things that are aligned with what they said before. Yeah, it's understandable if you didn't want to stream. I came real close pulling the plug on this one because I would the way I felt this morning and just I was good. Yeah, my phone was. I'm trying to get some more light out of that because it's just shining in front of me. Put it at max brightness. But yeah, I do sometimes think about like what would have happened if the chick stuff wasn't this way. Like, what would it be like to date someone and then get married to them and have children and you know uh, take care of the children and actually try to make their lives the best they can be. Like it does cross my mind here and there because it's just one of those things where when you know that you wanted that and then you're never able to get it and then you see people who didn't plot it out that get it just because they found someone that was willing to stick their salami in them. It's not easy to you know not contrast those two situations because I mentioned I was so irritated with the thing back with the baby circumstance because to me that seemed like someone who was just given like a partner that accepted them, that tried to make it work even when they should have left them high and dry. And it just got so irritating. I was like, how does this person who never signed up for any dating websites, never had to approach anyone, never had to change anything about herself, just materialize this man that accepts you know everything and puts up with everything. I mean, it's like, I have chicks that will block you or unfriend you because you made a joke they didn't like. Or if they don't do that, they'll like ignore you for days or weeks. But it's like this guy, gets cursed out while he's paying for her stuff, and then he still keeps coming back and putting up with it. It was the damnedest thing. And that's the kind of stuff that's gonna keep happening because you're gonna keep having these men who either don't get with anyone like myself, or if they do get with someone, it's like some old slave leash stuff, right? Where they believe they don't have any other options. So they'll try to make it work even with an insane person like this. Yeah, I'm still planning on doing that never ending accidental pregnancies video. Because again, the whole point of that video was to just talk about how unfair it was to, like plan this stuff out to like actually want children to where you plot it out to make, to like prepare for them and whatnot, and then you don't get it, but then people who don't plan it out get it, and it's always the same story. They were with some guy and just got knocked up, and the same saga every couple of years. James says basically didn't do any work; it just happened. Yeah, um, you know, I'll never forget that bimbo telling me you need to do work to get a girlfriend, but then I asked what work did you do to get this man to like you, and she told me he just came up and said he liked her, and then that was the start of this 7-year relation trash. That's what drives me nuts because like literally like how do you tell someone do these different steps or things to get a woman to like you, but oh, I have the triangle so I can just be who I am, and then a man will come up and put up with me for years no matter how bad I treat him. Because let me tell you something, as sick as I am of chicks, if I actually was with one of them, I would never have them paying for a storage unit for stuff that's not essential. Um, I can't, like, I've never talked to someone I actually like and kept cursing them out over the phone. Like, I wouldn't do this stuff to somebody. But the good old plot armor. Okay, Megumi says it reinforces that someone who never put any work in at all and got pretty much what you wanted and planned for, you don't get to experience that at all. The people who didn't want a child, it just happens to them, but someone who actively plans and wants it, they don't even get a fragment of it. No. And like I said, these clowns, these goddamn clowns online, instead of addressing how unfair that is and understanding why you would look at that and then become cynical about this whole process, their response is, "Well, you're young, so it might still happen, even though year after year chicks don't show any interest and keep wasting your time. But it might happen still." Yeah, they use your age to invalidate your experiences. That's the best way to put it. James says that's why I gave up. Hey, you're not missing much. If this was any other day, I would be laughing. I'm really not in that great of a mood. But I did attempt to provide some basic level of entertainment. Oh, they're going to say you are if you keep talking about women. I mean, yeah, but they say that if I did any type of criticism of them, they'll say that. So it doesn't matter. I did a video. They were calling a man that's married that because he was talking about a congresswoman. So I don't take it seriously. It's just a stupid word that is a catch 22 for people that don't actually want to address what you're saying specifically. That word doesn't have a meaning at this point. It changes every 5 minutes. Yeah, I still, you know what? I'm gonna see if I'll remember. I want to play the clip from that documentary where the one guy said, the one like supposed expert said the I word is men that are 21 or older that have gone 6 months without a uh what encounter with a woman. So I'll see if I can find that because again, this word has no meaning. I thought that was the most insane definition ever. Like, you know how many guys don't like just how to explain this? By that definition, let's say your partner is in the hospital over just maybe they broke their back, they broke something, right? So they're just at the hospital and you haven't had intercourse with them in 6 months. So now you're an I word. Like you're married, but you haven't had intercourse with your partner in over 6 months, and you're over the age of 21 or 21 or older. So you're now an I word. That's why I said I really I hate this topic so much because like for me personally, it was never about getting screwed. It was about wanting someone that you could spend time with that you actually liked, and then if they were receptive to this type of stuff, getting married to that person, having a family, I like stuff that people have done plenty of times in the past and to this day in smaller instances, but still, it's like what? No, they really don't think it's wrong. Like they think there's something wrong with you that chicks act this way. But yeah, it goes back to your point about guys having to put up with ridiculous nonsense from chicks because their lack of options or no options, so they'll suffer just to be. Yeah, And like I said, they don't give you any reason to want to put up with this. Like you're going to talk to a bunch of women, most of which or all of which are going to say no and turn you down. Then if you talk about it online, you're going to get accused of doing something wrong by people who weren't even there. So like I ask, what about this is appealing? I'd love to know. Oh, people never talk. Listen, in real life, I've sat down with multiple other guys, sometimes ones that have kids, who talk about how screwed up chicks are. Like everybody knows it's true. And they can use these little stupid words to describe, people, whatever. But the central point of it's wrong to have to do all this stuff so that someone might maybe like you is still valid. Social media really does have this weird fetish of grouping people with all these labels. If it's not something about race, it will be sexuality or political leaning or oh, I can't wait to know because it's funny. They say that the I words are racist, right? So I'm part of the racist I words, but then I've got a guy defending chicks by calling me like synonyms for chimpanzees and stuff. It's like, how do you even you don't get the irony? It's like I'm supposed to be part of the group that is racist, but then they're calling me racial slurs. Do I need to show where the one guy called me darky? Like this goes back to my thing. It's just you know a bunch of hypocrites. Remember that racist stuff Serena was typing? Don't hate all women. And then you say, well, no one here does. I saw other black men that hate all women. It's like, so all of us are the same. Anyways, like I talked long enough. It's been a really awful morning, but I'm glad I did my stream like I said I was going to do. Um, Again, just when you have people that matter to you and they're not around anymore, you're not wrong to linger on it because that person's life mattered at least to you. So you feel justified if you feel depressed. It makes a lot of sense. And I told the same thing to anyone else that I've seen in real life lose someone. I said, you know, you want to cry, you want to get angry. Every emotion you have is valid. I'm not here to tell people how to grieve. That's not my job. So thanks, Megumi, Gem, Envoy, Kotsky Merchant. Was James here? Yeah, he was here earlier. I'll do another stream probably on Wednesday or Thursday, most likely on Saturday, but you never know. And have a good day.